Hello again, everyone, and welcome to another edition of This Week in the World of Football. This is episode number 370 for November 12th, 2024. I am your host, Randy Snow. On this week's show, the matchup is set for the 111th CFL Grey Cup game in Vancouver. An NFL coach admits to clogging a toilet before his first game, and the Mountain West Conference is considering adding an FCS school as a football-only member. But I'm not here all by myself. Across the table from me, as always, is my son Adam.
Hello, everybody. How you doing? And in the famous words of one Jerry Jones, he said something quite profound this week that I think we all can disagree with, and that's the following quote: "You can't win games turning the ball over 5 times."
He said that.
Jerry, you're an idiot because the Lions did it.
Maybe the Cowboys can't win a game if they turn it over 5 times.
Yeah, they can't, but the Detroit Lions sure can. I can't wait to talk to you about that game.
That was an awesome game.
We've barely even scratched the surface.
All right, well, let's get right into today's show. We come to you each week from the fabulous World of Football Man Cave, located right here in the center of the football world. That'd be Kalamazoo, Michigan. We're here to promote the game of football in all its many forms, past, present, and future. Our goal is to educate, inform, and educate our listeners with the glorious buffet that is the world of football. All this while keeping a close eye on the rich history of the game. Thanks for checking out our podcast. We'd love to get your feedback on one of our many platforms: Apple Podcasts, SoundCloud, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast. We also have timestamps down in the description of both the podcast and many of our YouTube videos, so you can go right to the topics you really want to listen to. You can also find our podcast in its full audio form on our YouTube channel. Just search for The World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle @The World of Football in the YouTube search bar. You'll find over 450 videos on our YouTube channel, including, and last week was a busy week.
We might as well have posted 450 videos this last week.
CFL week semifinal and divisional final round recaps.
Yeah.
2 of those because we had to get things up a little early this week because we're getting on a plane tomorrow morning, so we had to have everything done by tonight. So we got those 2 out there since our last show. The CFL divisional semifinal round, we got that already. Just lying around 44.5.
Yep.
Looking ahead to the Lions-Texans game with Kyle going solo this week.
That's a new thing he's trying.
Yeah, he did a good job with that. The Lions just lying around number 45. The Lions-Texans recap that you and he did yesterday, I guess. Yep. And our NFL weekly picks for Week 10, which will...
Those were up last week. That was Week 10. So
and in upcoming videos, we've got we're going to have a Grey Cup travelogue after we get back from Canada, and our final Canadian Football League weekly show, plus weekly NFL picks for Week 11. Those should be going up tonight.
Yeah, that'll be up tonight.
Yep. Next week we'll also have the just lying around number 45.5 and 46. The preview and the post game of the Lions-Jaguars game coming up this Sunday.
Yep, that's the plan. So, well, Kyle and I will see. With us being in Canada, Kyle and I will figure out if we're doing that Sunday, like while we're in the hotel room, or if I'll have to wait till I get home to talk to him. So that one we'll figure out because that's gonna be crazy. We're gonna get home on Monday from our flight, and then I gotta go straight to bed because apparently our flight comes in super late. Then I'm going to work. Then I got to come home. Then I got to go podcast with you again to do this show. So it's going to be a busy week.
We could postpone our podcast by a day next week and give you a day to come back down.
Gasp, a day to recover?
Yeah.
I've never.
We've done it before.
Okay, that might actually work out for me.
Do it on Wednesday instead of Tuesday.
All right.
We're both going to need a day to recover with the time zone change and everything. It's going to be a mess.
Yeah, I'll definitely need some rest. So,
So we'll
thanks, boss, for giving me an extra day.
Yeah, no problem.
Just like how the Lions gives Adarius Smith a couple extra days.
Yeah, well, I'm doing it for myself, not you.
Oh, oof.
All right. Well, let's begin our weekly tour around the world of football, and we're going to start off this week with Week 10 in the NFL.
All right, that's right. Things got kicked off on Thursday Night Football. A great game this ended up being. I don't know if you caught any of this. But if I were to tell you that Joe Burrow threw for 428 yards and 4 touchdown passes, while his wide receiver, Jamar Chase, blew up fantasy owners' phones all night with 11 catches for 3 touchdowns and 264 yards receiving, would you have thought that the Bengals won this game?
You would think so.
You would think, but they lost by a point to the Baltimore Ravens, 35-34. The Ravens find a way to win, and I think they said, I saw a crazy stat, which was Joe Burrow in 10 games this year, they've lost games by scoring 31 points or more 3 times.
Wow.
So they scored 31 points and they still lost.
Wow.
You know how many times Tom Brady's done that in his career?
Probably never.
Like less than 3 times.
Okay.
Or maybe it was like 3 times in his entire career, which is
20 years.
Yeah, so much longer than what Joe Burrow's been. And that's just this year for Joe Burrow.
Right.
It's absolutely crazy, that kind of stat. But I mean, the Bengals are the best worst team. Like they just can't get it all put together. They're playing great teams too. That doesn't help. But we'll see if the Bengals can get things figured out going forward for the rest of the year. But I just thought that was crazy. That Joe Burrow had a night and Jamar Chase had a night, and it wasn't enough to beat the Ravens. It's wild. I mean, that's going to be the theme all week. I mean, there's just, how did this team win this game? There's a lot of that. Then obviously we had our Germany game this week, the final NFL international game this week. Did you get up early to watch this one?
I was up early, but I did not watch a whole lot of it.
Oh, boo.
I saw bits and pieces here and there.
I mean, we all thought this was going to be a terrible game. I wasn't excited to watch this game.
Yeah.
And as I watched it, it was a bad game. It was absolutely terrible. And the icing on the turd sandwich cake was that this game went to overtime. And my buddy's like, "Oh, you thought it was bad before. Now you get more of it." And boy, that was rough because in overtime, it was tied 17-all. Rookie running back for the Giants fumbled the ball on the first snap of overtime, gave it back to the Panthers, and the Panthers kicked the game-winning field goal. Rough way to end that game for that kid. He was on the sideline. They kept cutting to him, and with a towel over his head. And even a teammate came over, put another towel over his head for him. You feel for that kid. I mean, he's been that guy. I forget his name. He's been having a decent season for the Giants. I mean, you replace Saquon Barkley, and I feel bad for that kid. But the Giants stink. The Panthers stink. But it does look like Bryce Young. I'm not saying he's turned the corner, but Bryce Young looking a little better the last couple weeks. That's 2 straight for the Carolina Panthers.
Wow.
So.
Another note from this game.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yes. I forgot about this one. Yes.
Referee Sean Hockey called a penalty in German during the game between the Giants and the Panthers because his father, Ed Hockey, who we all remember for his great muscles, once
Man crush much?
No. Once called a penalty in Spanish during an NFL game in Mexico City.
That was pretty cool.
So, yeah, like father, like son.
That was pretty cool. What a good broadcast. I love having Rich Eisen on a broadcast. I don't know what it is. I just like Rich Eisen. So him on the broadcast with Kurt Warner. And when that happened, how they were just like, whoa, like that's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I think it's just genuine. I like that kind of announcing when it's like,
Yeah, they were genuinely surprised. Didn't know what was going to happen, and they thought it was pretty cool.
That was pretty cool. I mean, add that to like the list of great moments from these NFL international games. There's been some gems here and there, but in a game that was kind of a dud, and I mean, I wasn't really into. That was a cool highlight when I was watching the game. I saw that. So all right, moving on to the rest of the slate of games. We had quite a few things happening. The New England Patriots. And I'm sorry, Bears fans. I said you guys were going to lose by 10. I was wrong. You guys lost by 16 as the Patriots beat the Bears 19-3. I think that's 3 straight games the Bears have not scored a touchdown. Caleb Williams was sacked 9 times during this game. Good. I caught the tail end of this. I saw at least 2 or 3 sacks in a row, and I was like, this is unbelievable. Caleb Williams just regressed. Everybody was so high on him to start the year, and he has just not been able to do much. And as a result of this loss, your kind of sacrificial lamb this week for the Bears, they have fired offensive coordinator Shane Waldron this morning. So I was wondering if Eberflus would be the one to take it, but apparently not. I mean, the family that owns the Bears is pretty they don't like to fire guys in the middle of the season.
Right.
So we'll probably have to wait on a head coach firing, if at all.
Yeah.
But I guess Shane Waldron is the sacrificial lamb.
Well, you remember when the Bears were on what's
Hard Knocks.
Hard Knocks, yes. They made that team out to be they were going to be Super Bowl champs this year, and I'm just watching this going, really? Yeah, I don't think so. Yes, they do look good from what you're showing.
They got guys, but that's not the problem. Like they got one of the best receiving cores. Like Keenan Allen, awesome. DJ Moore is a lightning fast dude. And then Rome Odunze looks like he could be an up-and-coming NFL star. You're like, this is one of the best, if not the best, receiving core in the league. Like, how do you mess that up? Well, when your offensive line ain't great, and they're literally down to like their 4th or 6th string guys now. They had another guy hurt during the game, so your offensive line stinks. Your quarterback is like a half second behind his reads.
He's still a rookie. I mean, he may be good, but he's a rookie, and you just can't put a price on experience.
You can't, but I mean, it also comes down to coaching. Like I never trusted those coaches during that Hard Knocks thing. We talked about it week in, week out. I didn't trust that coaching staff, and also the Giants were on Hard Knocks too. Go back to them for a second. I was talking about them playing like crap. Now they're in line for the 2nd overall pick in the draft. Remember how they were talking up their team? So, good Lord, like.
Well, NFL Films does what they do best.
They show that you're a fraud.
No, they can make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. And
that's true.
They can put a positive spin on everything the way they edit it.
That's also fair.
And whatever.
That's so true.
Yeah, so they did their job, but the Bears, I didn't think they'd be.
You just got to be able. I think we've been around enough now, and you and I've watched enough to where you can kind of see through the BS.
Yeah,
it's like, okay, I can tell what they're covering up. I mean, and then you probably recognize different stuff. But when I watch it, I can see like how they edit things or what they're editing around. Like, what are you not showing me? That's what gets me sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, something smells fishy there. But
yep.
All right, let's move on. The Buffalo Bills defeated the Indianapolis Colts 30-20. I really don't have many notes from this game. I mean, the Bills continue winning. They're getting set up for a big game next week against the Chiefs.
Yeah.
The Minnesota Vikings beat the Jaguars 12-7. This was an ugly game, and the Vikings won with just scoring field goals, so they couldn't even get into the end zone. And then the Jaguars mascot, it was funny watching the mascot
try to break up the end
zone.
Break up
an end zone celebration, yeah. At one point for the Vikings defense for getting a turnover. The Kansas City Chiefs remain undefeated. Surprise, surprise. Doing it a whole new way. They blocked a kick that Denver should have had.
Yeah.
Denver should have had it. Yep. And the guy that was kind of the focal point of that play for the Broncos, that lineman that kind of got just mowed over. Apparently, somebody on X found a bunch of highlights of their kicks, and that guy has literally fallen on his back like 8 times out of however many kicks. So like this guy just can't stay on his feet. So like it's a Denver coaching problem. Or do you not have the right guys to put in this position? Like that costs you a game against a division rival that you should have won. That this one guy just keeps. I watched 8 plays of him just falling on his back in different games, and look how it bit him in the butt. Like it's just. I don't know how you let something like that happen. It's just utterly ridiculous. But the Chiefs remain undefeated. Good Lord. They're one of the best teams that keep finding ways to win.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. The New Orleans Saints surprised everybody by defeating the Falcons 20-17 under their interim head coach. What was it, Rizzi? I want to say that's his name. I don't have his name written
You don't
down.
have his name down here.
I forget. I can quickly look up his name because he... Boy, oh boy, he had one of my favorite quotes of the weekend. He just talking to the media. Saints interim, because we talked about him last week. What's his name?
I think it is Rizzi.
Darren Rizzi. Yep.
Yeah.
So Darren Rizzi, he was talking to the media after the game, and it turns out, he started his day because he's got a very gruff voice. He comes in, he's talking during his press conference, and he says his day started by going into the head coach's office, which he's never been in before, and he clogged the toilet. So this dude just woke up that morning, took a massive dump in the coach's toilet, went out there and beat their division rival that they had no business beating when they've been one of the worst teams in the league. They had, 7 straight losses at some point, and wins the game. Unbelievable. That guy deserves to win for just being that honest about clogging the toilet.
Why would you admit something like that?
Why wouldn't you? Wouldn't you be proud? I know we're dudes and we're disgusting and weird. People will send pictures of their stool in the toilet if they feel like it's worthy of putting somewhere.
I know that's a thing.
Look at this massive crap I took.
We had a guy in basic training that wanted to take pictures of everybody's poop in the toilet.
That just
don't flush it. I get him a camera.
What? Hold on, no.
Yeah.
Randy.
I'm sorry, yeah.
This is real?
Yeah, when I was in basic training, there was a guy that was into that.
Are you still friends with this guy?
No, I don't remember. I don't remember which one it was. I kept in touch with a couple of guys from basic training for several years, but they've all gone by the wayside now. That was over 20 years ago.
All right, if you went to basic training with Randy Snow, and you also have a fascination with taking pictures of poop and toilets, please send us an email at
pictures.
info@theworldoffootball.com. Send us your poo and toilet pictures. Please don't, but unless you're that guy, then we will happily like to contact you and interview you because this is fascinating to me. All right, moving on. The 49ers beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 23-20. Christian McCaffrey came back, looked pretty all right. He didn't really do much. One of the stories is Deebo Samuel punching Jake Moody and the long snapper. Like, that was a weird heated exchange because Moody missed 3 kicks, but then he kicked the game winner. So it's all is well that ends well, I guess, for the 49ers. But did you see that play with Baker Mayfield hitting that 4th down pass, and he had Nick Bosa all over him, and he still made that throw? It was incredible.
Oh, where he was trying to stiff arm him away?
Yeah.
He was heading for the sideline?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was awesome.
That was impressive.
Baker Mayfield has become one of my favorite players in the NFL. I respect the crap out of Baker. He got a lot of crap in Cleveland. He helped turn that franchise around a little bit just to get kicked to the curb for Deshaun Watson, and now look what he's doing. He's bounced around a couple teams, and now look what he's doing in Tampa. Yeah. He's doing a lot with nothing, and it stinks that they're 4-6. He has been playing ball. And if you look at some of his stats, you'd think he should be up for MVP consideration, the way he's been playing. But unfortunately, he's not going to be because he's on a team that's 4-6. Which stinks because he's playing lights out. He's playing great.
The whole MVP thing is just a beauty contest. It really means nothing. They want certain people to get it, and they're going to get it. And, so they talk about other people, but they already know who they're going to make the MVP of the year.
Yeah. I don't know about that, but we'll move on. The Pittsburgh Steelers got a win against the Commanders, 28-27. This game was wild.
I saw the end of this.
The end of this game was crazy. How about 3-0 for Russell Wilson now as the starting quarterback for the Steelers? Russell Wilson's looking like old Russell Wilson, and it should scare a lot of teams. If he's got the Steelers scoring almost 30 points a game, that's wild. How many Steelers teams in the last couple of years have scored over 30 points, on average in a stretch? It rarely happens. So he's added a dynamic to the Steelers offense that they have not had before. Then they traded for Mike Williams from the Jets, who had a great touchdown catch in this game. So now they got weapons between Williams, and then George Pickens is already a great wide receiver. So the Steelers, I think, are going to be one of those teams to watch out for in the AFC come playoff time. But the kicker here, the Commanders still played a good game too. Jaden Daniels still looks great, rookie quarterback. But in the Commanders, though, they got to be kicking themselves in the butt, they just screwed up on a 4th and 1. You had a chance to, you knew that the Steelers couldn't do much, and you knew they were trying to draw you offsides. What'd you do? You went offsides.
You jumped offside. Yep.
And that was it. That's
even the announcers were saying, they're probably just going to try and draw them offsides and then call a timeout.
And I think it was a rookie lineman that accidentally jumped. So that's a tough way to lose a game.
Yep, sure is.
But, I mean, kudos to Mike Tomlin and the Steelers. And how about Mike Tomlin? We thought this was going to be a down year for his team, and he just finds a way to keep his Steelers, with above 500 records.
Never had a sub-500 record
He's
ever.
One of the best coaches.
20 years.
I love Mike Tomlin. He's great.
He gets the job done.
He's
Love him or
hilarious.
hate him, he gets the job done.
He is great. I would love to meet Mike Tomlin someday. All right, the Chargers beat the Titans 27-17. I really don't have much from this game other than Will Levis did not look like a meme at all. I don't know how that worked, but he didn't. The Arizona Cardinals absolutely embarrassed the New York Jets 31-6.
Yeah, I watched some highlights. They never showed a single highlight of Aaron Rodgers at all.
Well, probably because there wasn't much to write home
I know.
about.
I love that. And they showed the best and the worst of Kyler Murray. The touchdown run, completing passes,
and then when he got hit,
and then getting destroyed by a defensive lineman that just nobody blocked him, and his helmet went flying, and he still got up from that. And oh my gosh!
And how about the Cardinals though? They've won 4 straight. They are the leaders in the NFC West right now. What a nice little team they got there. I'm not saying they're Super Bowl bound, but they're another one of those sneaky teams. You get them in the playoffs with the weapons they got.
Yep.
They could be a team to keep an eye out for. I love that the Cardinals, because when we played them, we were like, that's a tough team, but the record doesn't indicate how tough this team is. And here they are now, 4 straight games. So we'll see where the Cardinals go. Can they take that really tough NFC West? That is a dogfight out there in the West. All right. Then the Philadelphia Eagles did what every team does that sets foot in Jerry World, and that's just, I don't know, hang over 30 points in the Dallas Cowboys home stadium.
Now, to be fair,
34-6, the final score.
They had the sun in their eyes.
Oh, boo,
so,
frickin' who?
Well, that stadium is how many years old? And just in the last 2 weeks, there's been an issue with the sun getting in players' eyes.
I think it's always been an issue, but at the same time, you play later afternoon games most of the time. You know when the sun's going to be there. They've said, I think somebody said that we know when to, or what side of the field to take, depending on the time of day. That's something we put into, account. But it's at a point you're just like, all right, guys, you need to just get some dimmers or get like a shade or something to put up there during game time because it's a problem.
All the opposing fans in that end zone need to pull out their little hand mirror and just start.
I'm surprised that hasn't happened. Well, I mean, how many NFL stadiums are going to let somebody just walk in with a big mirror, even little mirrors, and do that?
Well, I'm just talking like a compact.
I would want to walk in with a big old
pocket.
mirror that your grandma used to hang up in the kitchen, or wherever. Just walk that in.
Honey, get the mirror out of your purse and start flashing it around.
That'd be great.
The sun's in the right spot.
I would pay money to see somebody just smuggle in a giant mirror into a game like that and start.
They used to. Who was it? Was it the NFL? Somebody had a problem with laser pointers.
That happened a lot. Yeah.
You don't hear that anymore, but for a while that was a
they're
thing.
banned.
Yeah, that was a thing for a while. Was using that.
All right, so that's all the main game. I mean, the Cowboy, and then obviously Dak Prescott will undergo season-ending surgery.
Right.
He'll be out for the rest of the year.
Yep.
I'm trying to make sure we have no other notes yet that we haven't covered. I think we're good. All right, so that leads us to the Sunday night game, which saw our beloved Detroit Lions, who for a half of football were not our beloved Detroit Lions. Yeah. They beat the Texans in a massive comeback, 26-23, in a game where our quarterback Jared Goff threw 5 interceptions, and I'll say that 2 of them were his fault. 3 of them, I mean, one of them you could probably just cancel out because it was the end of the half.
Right.
Hail Mary, whatever.
Yep.
But a couple of them, one of them should have technically been a fumble, but they counted it as an interception. But whatever. How do you come back from that? It's rare. 5 interceptions. You're like, what in the world is happening? This Lions team was just discombobulated to start the game. Texans came out with one of the fastest defenses I've ever seen.
Yes.
Everybody on that Texans defense was flying around. They had a purpose, and you could tell they wanted to win this game. They've been embarrassed in prime time against the Jets, and then here they are in prime time again. They were not about to get embarrassed by the best team in the NFL. And for the first half, they controlled this game. The Lions got down once to score, so it was 23-7 at halftime.
Yes.
But then in the second half, the Lions slowly chipped away at that lead. They scored 19 unanswered points. Jake Bates kicked a 58-yard field goal to tie the game, and then he kicked a 52-yard game winner, which is the first time in NFL history that a kicker has ever kicked a 50-yarder or more game-tying field goal and a 50-yard longer or more game-winning field goal in the same game.
Yeah. So
Jake Bates made history, and the Lions also made by being down 16 and having 5 interceptions and coming back to win the game is the first time that's happened since 2012 or. They said Matt Ryan did something similar. I don't know. And then or in the 70s.
Yeah, I thought it was Johnny Unitas back in the 60s.
There's a couple weird variations of that hasn't happened since. I think the 5 interceptions was Matt Ryan, but then the being down by 15 or more and 5 interceptions was the 1970s Colts or something like that. It's just a lot of wild. What a wild game.
Yeah. Well, here's my take on everything. Yes, their defense came out and played out of their mind that first half.
That's a good defense.
They were going to stop the run. They were going to stop the pass. They were just flat out going to stop Detroit from doing whatever they wanted to do. They were very successful. Like you said, they were flying all over the place. Linebackers were going from one side of the field to the other to make a tackle and this and that. And in the second half, I think they were pooped out. I think they gave it all in their first half, and it worked. But come the second half, they were a little tired. So that's when Detroit was able, Detroit was not tired. Detroit started doing the same thing that they were doing in the first half, but now it was working because I think the Texans defense couldn't do it for 4 quarters. They did it for 2, and it worked great. But third and fourth quarter, not as successful.
That's interesting. I'll say it again. I said it on my show with Kyle. My thought was it did seem like they were stacking the box more. They were stopping the Lions' run early because they knew that's what the Lions want to do.
Right.
So they do that early. So in the second half, when you're up by 16, the Lions are gonna have to throw it.
Right.
So they were running more like 4 or 5 guys on the line instead, and it just seemed like it was more open. It seemed like the Texans were a lot wider. So that kind of opened up for Detroit to just kind of start picking them apart, picking the holes, and saw their opportunities. And Goff threw a couple of darts to Jameson Williams. And unsung hero Jameson Williams in this game. 2 catches that he probably should have dropped.
Yeah, I don't know how he hung on to that one. He had 2 guys all over him.
One of them, he took 2 guys.
And he was holding it up over his
before
head.
I get that out of the internet. He took a hit by 2 guys
right.
at the same time, and it was just, I can't believe he held on to that ball. The other one earlier in the game was when he like bobbled it, reached out, grabbed it, and pulled it back into his body, and still held on to it, which was awesome. But it showed that Jared Goff was unfazed. You could tell, like, when the interception happened, he's like, geez, another one. But it was back to the sideline. They regrouped, and they went back out there like nothing happened.
Well, you know,
and the play calling didn't change because it's not like
no.
You know how easy it would be for other teams, like, our quarterback just threw 5 interceptions. You either bench him or let's just start throwing little tiny passes. No, Jared Goff was still throwing it 15 yards downfield. He was still finding. Well, eventually he got to Amon-Ra. Amon-Ra was quiet most of the game.
Yeah, he was.
But Goff was finding guys. They were picking apart the defense. They were still attacking him. When I think other teams would have just folded and just been like, let's play a little more conservative. The Lions were like, no, we're going to play the same style of football regardless of what happened. They come back out like nothing really happened. And they're like, all right, we're down by this. Let's go out and do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and I could not stand those uniforms
for the Texans.
The Texans were wearing. Those were the ugliest helmets, the ugliest uniforms. It was not a good look.
I don't think it was terrible, but the announcers did say they were having a hard time reading the numbers, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I didn't think there was a problem with that because the red jerseys and white numbering.
No, it was blue numbering. I think that's what made it hard. Like when you're up in that booth, I think it's a little harder to distinct what the numbers were.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem watching it on TV, but from the booth, it could have been a problem. And I've told you the story before when I was doing high school stats. Yeah. One of the opponents that we had every year would come in and they wore white jerseys with gold lettering and no trim around it. So if they'd had a black trim around it, you could have seen the outline of the number, but you could not make out those numbers, and that's what I was doing. I was doing stats, so I'm trying to see. Okay, number 5 is carrying the ball, and he's tackled by number 26. And man, it was almost impossible to get those numbers on those jerseys.
Yeah, but a win's a win in this league, and the Lions are 8-1 for the first time since 1954. They obviously going into the game they were 7-1 for the first time since 1956. So the Lions are doing stuff they haven't done in 70 years.
Yeah.
It's wild.
And we found out this week that Shabuzi is going to perform at halftime of the Lions-Bears Thanksgiving Day game this year.
You know what?
You're familiar with Shabuzi, aren't you?
I've never heard of it. But I'll say this. Jack Harlow played last year's. I had to show my girlfriend the video because she missed the halftime show. Do you remember last year's halftime performance with the crappy igloo and the tarp?
Yeah, it was awful.
Boy, I couldn't even think of the music because I just remember that setup being so bad. I'm hoping... Please, Ford family, and please, Ford Field, make it look a little more presentable. People are now going to be watching you because you're good.
Yeah.
People are going to be tuning into this game.
Oh, yeah.
Because you're the first game of the day.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it doesn't have to be like Dallas with Dolly Parton and whoever they get for their halftime show. I don't know if that's been announced or not.
Not yet.
But they put on a halftime show worthy of the Super Bowl with Dolly Parton. The least you could do is... do a setup in the corner of the end zone like you did that one Thanksgiving and you had somebody performing, but don't do what you did, like a crappy igloo with a white tarp down on the ground. It just looked awful. It looked like you went out to Walmart the night before and bought all that crap.
Compared to the Dallas halftime with Dolly Parton in a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader outfit, no comparison.
Why are you blushing over there? Behave, Randy.
She's 100 years old, and she was out there.
And you're still attracted to her.
She's got talent.
Skeletor.
Big talent.
There. 2 big talents. All right.
But I've heard the name Shabuzi.
I never heard of him.
And I know he's been on like the CBS Morning News, which you're working, you don't see that. But I know he's
that I'm not over the age of 65. I don't tune into those shows.
A lot of people, he's being talked about quite a bit. So
if you say so, Mr.
But I have not seen him or heard his music, so I'm looking forward to seeing this halftime
Interesting.
performance.
I would not have guessed that.
He's doing country music, so I've always liked country music. I'm not familiar with a lot of the current country people. I go back to the days of Loretta Lynn and Ernest Tubb, and a lot of those, from the 60s and 70s.
For those of you listening, Randy only there's only two kinds of music that Randy listens to, and he likes country and western.
Absolutely,
that's for you. We got both kinds of music, country and western.
You got it all there, lady.
All right. That's a Blues Brothers reference for those of you out there not in the know. Get yourself film educated. Come on now. All right. And then finally, Monday Night Football. I did not get to catch any of this game. I saw it came down to the end of the game, though. The Dolphins shocked the Rams 23-15. How about them Dolphins?
Yeah. I think the Rams only managed 5 field goals. There were no touchdowns.
Yeah, they kept them out of the end zone.
Man, that was I watched some of the first half, and then I got sleepy, so I said I'll just catch it in the morning. And so I didn't know until I got up this morning that that the Rams lost that game, and I got to watch the end of it, and man, it was like it was no contest almost.
Yeah, I mean the Dolphins. I mean with Tua, I did see the highlight of Tua taking a knee to the helmet. Like he was trying to make a tackle on the sideline.
Oh, yes.
He took a knee to the helmet, and I guess X blew up. Everybody saying, "Tua, get out of there!" But just leave him alone. If he wants to stay out there, let him. I mean, let the dude play. But I mean, that's a big win for the Dolphins. We'll see if they can turn things around this season. For the Rams, a little bit surprised that they're in that really tough NFC West right now, and all wins are going to be precious here on out for that division.
Did you mention that in the Vikings game they only got 4 field goals? It still won the game.
Yeah, 4 field goals
with just 4.
Yeah.
Okay.
We mentioned the field goals.
Okay.
Let's see what other news we have here. I think we've covered everything that's happened. All right.
All the notes we had from the NFL are good.
All right. Well, now we head up north of the border to the land of poutine and rouges and all that fun stuff, as I also have to work and put my timestamp in. That's all right. We're going to talk Canadian football, everybody. The CFL playoffs were this past weekend. We had a couple of games here. The first game was awesome. The first game was what you would want out of your divisional finals here, as the Toronto Argonauts defeated the Montreal Alouettes 30-28 to a sold-out crowd. Back and forth in the first half. But Toronto kind of at the end of the first half just had an opportunity to kind of keep it close. The Alouettes could have just kept them at bay, but that kick, I can't believe the Alouettes go down, they score the touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
3 seconds left in the game or something like that, like 5 seconds or whatever.
Yeah.
There was a few seconds left, but then they kicked off.
Right.
And they kicked a straight line kick. Like they were trying to hit one of the...
Like a squib kick.
They were trying to hit...
Not so much an onside kick.
Right.
But
It looked like they were trying to hit a Toronto defender or player just to have the ball bounce off him and recover the ball. But instead it backfired, and the Argos recovered the ball in field goal range.
Yeah.
Which then led to the Hiram Hiralahu kick. I don't have his name spelled out in front of me. But he kicked a field goal to take the score real close there going into halftime.
Right.
So,
yeah.
But then the second half, the Argos kind of took advantage of a couple of miscues and got a lead, and then had to hold off the Alouettes from coming back. And in the process, Toronto lost their starting quarterback, Chad Kelly, who looked like he had to hold that ankle together.
Yeah.
Sitting there. It was a gruesome scene.
Yeah. Third quarter, he broke his leg.
It just sucked.
They took him to the hospital from the field.
Sucked the emotion and the momentum from Toronto. Allowed the Alouettes to kind of come back, but Toronto was able to stave them off.
Yep, they brought in the backup quarterback, and he did just what he needed to do. He kept the drives going. He kept the ball out of Montreal's hands, kept it away from them, completed the passes he needed to complete to maintain possession, and they won the game.
Yeah.
And they intercepted a pass on a 2-point conversion that would have tied it up. And then after that, they were able to hang on to the ball and run the clock out and not give the ball back to Montreal.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is the third year in a row that these two teams have met in the East Finals. Now, last year, it was in Toronto, I believe, and Montreal came in and beat them because they were the better team. Toronto was the better team, so they were at home. And that was a huge surprise. And I think Toronto has been dying ever since to get back at Montreal. And this year, Montreal had the better record, so they go to Montreal and they beat them up there and make it to the Grey Cup that they should have had last year. They're figuring, but yeah, that was an awesome game, especially as an Argonauts fan. It was so satisfying to see them win that game, and it was a very, very good game.
Right. So the Argos punched their ticket to the 111th Grey Cup, and then in the West Final, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers punched their ticket as they defeated the Saskatchewan Roughriders 38-22. This was pretty much all Blue Bombers. They just, you could tell they were ready to go back to the the Grey Cup again.
For the fifth straight time.
They were a team on a mission, and they made no bones about it because they had their way with Saskatchewan. There's no way around it. The score is a lot closer than it was because they scored with like 20 seconds left to get to the 22-point mark.
Right.
So, I don't know. Clearly, the Blue Bombers, the fifth trip, like you mentioned, have something to prove, and they've been disappointed the last two trips to the Grey Cup.
Right. Yeah. The last 4 years, they won the first two, and they've lost the last 2 years in a row. But this is their fifth in a row going there. And 2 years ago, they lost to Toronto. So, who knows what's going to happen out there next weekend.
I'm hoping, as long as it's a great game. But we talked a lot at length on our show, Canadian Football League Weekly. Go check that out on our YouTube channel. We talked quite a bit all year long because Winnipeg started off 0-4.
Yep.
And we were like, oof, what's wrong with the Blue Bombers?
Yeah, so out of character for them.
Then they won 2 out of the next 4, so then they were 2 and 6. 2 and 6.
Yep.
And we're like, yikes. Is it time to hit the panic button? And we were like, well, maybe not. We'll see how the season plays out. It is a little worrisome, but then they rattle off 8 straight.
8 straight.
Got the number 1 seed.
Yep.
Won the division again, and here they are, the team that we thought they were.
First week of the playoffs.
They are who we thought they were, and here they are back in the Grey Cup. So it should be a fun, entertaining game.
Yes.
So yes, like we mentioned, that sets up the 111th Grey Cup, which will be played in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada, on Sunday, November 15th. The
17th.
Argonauts.
17th.
Between the Toronto Argonauts and Winnipeg Blue Bombers. We will be there in attendance for this game. Find the game on CBS Sportsnet here in the States, or go to CFLplus.com and stream the game for free.
Yeah.
You just give them your email address. Yeah. It's super easy.
I gave them my email address one time this year, and ever since then, I've just logged in. Just clicked on the link, and boom, there's the game.
It's great. And their commercials are pretty catchy, and you don't have to worry about it. I mean, if you need to get up and go to the bathroom, they just got some nice music that plays in the background. So
as long as the music's playing, they're on a commercial break, and you can come back real quick.
And then you sit through maybe a couple of CFL ads. That's it. Yeah, that's all you got to worry about. It's great.
Yeah, some cool commercials that you don't see down here.
Yeah. So like we already mentioned, the 5 straight Grey Cups for Winnipeg. Toronto obviously won the Grey Cup in 2002.
By a single point.
That game was great. They had 2 blocked field goals during it. It was awesome.
So yes, this is going to be a great game between these two teams. They've been there before. Toronto's won several Grey Cups, and
I think
Winnipeg has. So this
the stat I saw is Toronto has not lost a Grey Cup they've played in since the 90s or 80s.
1987. Yeah, they lost it, and every one they've been in since then they have won.
Ooh.
So Toronto. Well, hopefully that will continue.
Do they have that in
boy, Winnipeg's got something to say about that.
Winnipeg is look. I love Toronto. I love all the CFL teams.
Yes,
we talked about this.
Yes,
Toronto is more of my team. Rooting for them, but I do feel like this is Winnipeg's game to lose. Nick Arbuckle is going to be the X factor.
Yes,
does he play well enough to keep the Argos in the game or win the game, or does his performance just not get up to standards and Winnipeg just is able to win because Toronto didn't have a great quarterback. It'll be tough. It'll be interesting.
Yep.
But as long as we get a great game, and I think we're gonna, one way or the other, it's gonna be awesome. The crowd's gonna be wild. I'm looking forward to it, and we'll have a lot of stuff from our trip. I don't know if we'll do daily vlogs or how we're gonna do that yet. We're there to enjoy our week.
Yes.
We're gonna check out some Grey Cup festivities. We'll probably put definitely the travel log video together next week whenever I get time. But whatever we get during the week, maybe I'll post a little bit here and there and put up little videos.
And I sent you an email that I got just today. I know you haven't looked at it too much, but
I was kind of skimming the one you got.
Yeah, it's got the whole schedule for the whole week coming up. All the different free events that they've got in the downtown area around the stadium. Well, you don't have to do that.
I'm doing it right now. So
some events you have to pay for. You have to buy a ticket to it, and others they're free. They've got a zip line going down some street down by the stadium. We might have to check that out. But just a ton of things, family-oriented things. Some after-hours things with the
street
teams.
Festival here. They got a drone show that's going to be happening.
Drone show. Yep.
That looks pretty cool. They got Canada's largest drone show, so that should be pretty sweet.
Weather permitting.
Weather permitting,
yeah.
They're going to have
calling for a little rain all week long.
A lot of events at the Grey Cup Festival, at the convention center there, which we're going to try to check out.
Yep.
And hopefully, who knows if there's anybody that listens to the show, you might see us out on the street. I don't know what I'll be wearing. It'll either be Detroit Lions stuff or any World of Football. Probably have my World of Football hat on. So.
I've got a few of those shirts, but I've got a couple of Toronto shirts, and I've got one Winnipeg shirt.
Speaking of shirts, we have new merch in the merch store. Everybody, go get a shirt. I'm hoping mine gets delivered today so I can wear it to Canada. So, but yeah, so it should be a great time. I'm nervous and I'm excited at the same time. Never flown internationally. Never been to that part of Canada, obviously.
Yeah.
So this will be a fun trip, I hope.
It's been a long time since I've been to the West Coast. Las Vegas, San Diego, or Los Angeles. I've been to those cities before.
You've been everywhere, man. You've been everywhere.
Well, Phoenix and Tucson. I've been down there. So, yeah. But yeah, it's gonna be weird because I've never been up to the Northwest area before.
But was it somebody? One of our comments on the video. I don't know if you saw this or not. Somebody commented on our latest CFL video and gave us a suggestion for stuff to try up there in Canada. I want to give them credit as I pull that up. Oh, never mind. I screenshot it. So let me go to that real quick. So from David Boussois. I hope I'm saying your name.
He's commented.
He's a top commenter. Yeah,
on our stuff before,
he says, "Don't forget to pick up some ketchup and dill pickle chips and Nanaimo bars while you were in Van City." And he picks the Argos to beat the Bombers 27-24. I have definitely had dill pickle. We got dill pickle chips down here. I love dill pickle chips. The ketchup chips I've never tried, but you know what? I will do it when we're there, and I will get a video of me eating whatever a Nanamino bar is, as long as it's not alive and moving.
Boy, we better stock up on some Pepto when we go up there because we don't know what we're going to run into as far
what's Canada's version of Tums?
I don't know.
All right, are we good on the CFL?
Yes, I think
All
so.
right, I can't wait to talk Grey Cup this next week. Should be a lot of fun.
Yep.
But all right, Dad, we're going to stay in the Great White North, and we're going to talk about some Canadian college football.
Yes, USPORTS up there. This is their playoff time of the year. This was round one. Or no, I think round one was last week. But anyway, there were 4 games this week. It was the Laval Red and Gold over the Montreal Carabins 22-17 in the Dunsmore Cup. These are semifinal bowl games or games that have names. It was the Bishops Gators over the St. Mary's Huskies 25-22 in 3 overtimes in the Loney Bowl. The Wilfrid Laurier Golden Hawks over the Western Mustangs 51-31 in the 116th Yates Cup. And the Regina Rams over the Saskatchewan Huskies 19-14 in the 87th Hardy Cup. So that sets up the I guess the semifinals will be this weekend. In the UTEC Bowl, it's the Bishops Gators versus the Wilfrid Laurier Golden Hawks. And in the other semifinal game is the Mitchell Bowl, the Laval Red and Gold versus the Regina Rams. The winners of those 2 games are going to meet in the Vanier Cup National Championship game in Kingston, Ontario on Saturday, November 23rd. At the home of Queen's University. They're going to be playing in their stadium. So, semifinal games this week, the UTEC Bowl, the Mitchell Bowl, and then those winners go on to the Vanier Cup the week after. And then finally up in Canada in college football, the Canadian Junior Football League championship game was played, and it was the St. Clair Saints defeating the Okanagan Sun 37-22, and that game was played in Windsor, Ontario. So congratulations to the St. Clair Saints for winning the CJFL championship over there in Canada. And now we're going to head back to the States for some more college football news. Actually, scores, pretty much. We got Week 11. This week, instead of the top 10, I did the top 12 based on the college football rankings.
Good on you.
So,
okay.
That's the order that I've got them in this time. So if they're a little bit different from the AP poll, I'm sorry. But
but now we'll do the official CFP. Obviously, the rankings come out every Tuesday night, which we don't get to
right after we get done podcasting.
Yeah. So we won't talk about how tonight's rankings will go, but it doesn't really matter till the end anyway. So once we get to that, we might have to either do a later show or figure out how we're going to do that.
But I figure now that they've got the 12-team playoff, we may as well go with their rankings now that they're starting to do it every week. So we'll go by how they have them ranked. So this week it was number 1 Oregon over Maryland 39-18. Looks like Oregon is just unstoppable lately. Number 2 Ohio State shut out Purdue 45-0. They're right there behind Oregon. Number 16, Ole Miss upset number 3, Georgia, 28-10. Did you see any of this game?
I did not, but I saw the score and I was like, oh boy, you know me, I love my chaos.
Oh yeah.
And the fact that Georgia dropped this one, what a wild season this has been. All these top teams have lost almost 2 games.
Last year we had like 3 in the top 10 that all got upset.
So yeah, it's crazy, and I'm loving it, and it makes you wonder who's going to be the final 12. Yeah. It's like there's no certain guarantee anymore. Now you got 2 losses, you being in the top 12 is in jeopardy now. It's crazy. I love it.
Take the list today. This is the first list of 12, and see how that compares to what actually is going in the first round.
I know.
It's going to be very different from what we're talking about today. Anyway, the SEC fined Ole Miss $350,000 for storming the field twice during their victory over Georgia. They fined them $100,000 for fans storming the field before the game even ended, which I didn't know that they did that, but I guess they did. I saw them carrying the goalposts around. And then another $250,000 because this was a second offense for the school, and we ran into that a few weeks ago where somebody was their second offense, so they got charged $250,000 for charging the field. So $350,000 for winning that game.
It's wild. I get why they're doing it, because I get it. Having all those people rush the field like that is not safe for the people on the field. True. I get it. It's terrible.
But number 16 beating number 2?
But, here's the big but. All the cool college football footage is people storming the field. What are we doing? If you're a team, okay, if you're number 3 Georgia, and you know, we're about to be upset, you'd think they'd have a precaution like, all right, look, they're going to probably storm the field. Let's get these guys to the locker room now. Like the stadium's got to have some sort of like.
As a gentle reminder, folks, do not storm the field
until the team is.
Yeah, well, even after the game's over, they don't like them storming the field.
I know.
Please stay in your seats. It might cost us $350,000 if you do.
See, what gets me is how do they not stop? Like, how many times have we watched NFL? How has anybody ever stormed an NFL field after a game? Can you think of one instance right now where an NFL game where the fans just rush the field like that? It doesn't happen.
Not in the NFL.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
When the Michigan Panthers won in 1983, the fans tore down the goalposts when they won their playoff
for the third
game.
time. That's not the NFL.
No, not well.
So what does the NFL do differently that these colleges are not? Granted, they probably got 40,000 more people they got to worry about. Some of these, you go to the big house, that's 40,000 more people than Ford Field.
Right.
You go to Happy Valley there, I'm sure that's several 100,000 or 20, 30,000 more than the nearest NFL stadium. Right. So I get it. It is a lot more people, but you'd think there'd be something other than they're a bunch of drunk college kids, and all the people at the NFL games are old fogies. There's got to be something they could do. If they really want to stop it, they would. Not just finding the school, because it's not the school's fault. It kind of is if you're not stopping them from getting onto the field. What do you got to do? Put barbed wires and spikes down there? Like make it like a coliseum?
Now, in the NFL, if you're old enough and rich enough to afford those NFL prices, you probably have a bad hip and you're not going to be rushing the field. If you're a college frat boy that maybe got some free tickets to the game, you're rushing the field with your shirt off. But in an NFL game, you paid big bucks for those tickets, so that keeps out the frat boys who would rather watch it on their sofa anyway, in their parents' basement.
I don't know. I'm of two minds, but I get the player safety side of it. But at the same time, when you think college football, one of the 5 first things you got to mention is like, the imagery of people storming the field. Yeah, that's what you think of when you think of college.
Great to see those things, as long as nobody gets hurt.
Yes. And I can't remember the last time I've heard of anybody. I mean, I'm sure it happens, but I can't remember of like a big incident where somebody just got trampled and hurt because of it. Like, I feel like they're all drunk enough to where they can't stay on their own feet when they go down there, so I'm not worried about it.
I think the worst person to get hurt was that trombone player when California,
the band's on the field.
The band's on the field, and the fans were rushing the field, and the guy was still running. He hadn't been tackled yet. He ran over that trombone player in the end zone.
Is that trombone on display somewhere? You'd think that'd be just like on a. It's somewhere at the College Football Hall of Fame.
On Peyton Manning's Peyton's Places, he reunited that guy. They
trombone.
Found the trombone player and the guy that ran into him. He reunited those two guys at the stadium.
And then they had a knife fight.
I don't remember if he still has that trombone or not. I'd have to rewatch that episode.
Interesting. Okay.
The beauty of Peyton's Places. Okay, let's get back to the scores here. We've been getting off track. Let's see. Number 4, Georgia Tech upset number 4 Miami of Florida 28-23. The first loss of the season for Miami.
Down goes an unbeaten.
Yep. Number 5, Texas over Florida 49-17. Number 6, Penn State over Washington 35-6. Number 7, Tennessee over Mississippi 33-15. Number 8, Indiana over Michigan 20-15. You were watching this game. I watched a little bit because I was watching the CFL Toronto game on my laptop, and I had that game on the TV with the sound muted, so I was watching both of them. First time Indiana is 10-0 in school history.
Awesome story. Love it. The fans there seemed great. What an atmosphere in that stadium. I know we've talked about our family member who's on the sideline there. Saw him on TV.
Saw him a couple times.
You sent me a video, and I was like, how did I miss this of him being on the screen? Like, where literally his face took up half the TV screen. I was like, I don't know how I missed this. But that's pretty cool. Rooting for Indiana, obviously. And even though, obviously, we're in Michigan, and we like Michigan. We root for all our Michigan colleges.
Right.
But Michigan's not the same this year. And I was like, you know what? I'd love to see the Indiana story kind of keep going. But Michigan made it a game that this is the first win for Indiana this year, too, not by double digits. So Michigan gave them a run for their money. Yep. Indiana's got a bye this week, I believe, and then they play Ohio State. That game in 2 weekends is going to be incredible.
I think that Indiana is ranked number 4 right now in the FBS
They got
poll.
I forget what they got.
I think I saw that somewhere, that they are number 4 now. But anyway.
Well, that's in the AP poll, but we'll find out tonight. I bet you they'll probably be 6, 7, or 8 somewhere in there because Ohio State will be 5 because of the way the rankings are. The top 4 will be the supposed conference champions. So then that means Ohio State will be 5, Oregon will be 1, and then you'll have Oregon or Indiana probably in that 6, 7, 8 spot probably. At least in terms of the bracket seedings.
Yeah. Okay. Let's keep going here. Number 9, BYU over Utah, 22-21. That was a squeaker.
Do you see those jerseys? It was all blue for BYU, and Utah had all red jerseys, like head to toe. Yeah, that was crazy. It was like I was like, dang, it's like a bunch of Smurfs, or it's like Sonic and Knuckles out there. Is what it looked like. It was crazy. It was like those two that bright blue and that bright red just playing each other.
I guess I didn't see any highlights of that one.
Pretty cool. I like it when they can wear uniforms like that against each other. I like that.
Number 10, Notre Dame over Florida State, 52-3. That was a real beatdown. Number 11, Alabama over number 14, LSU, 42-13. And number 12, Boise State over Nevada, 28-21. That's in your top 12. Moving on to some upsets, shutouts, blowouts, and others. Last Wednesday night, we're in the middle of Maction now.
Yeah, Maction.
Midweek games, Tuesdays and Wednesdays and Thursday nights. Northern Illinois over our beloved Western Michigan here from Kalamazoo, 42-28. First MAC loss for Western Michigan.
That was tough.
They cannot beat Northern Illinois.
That's their bugaboo.
Every year, no matter how good or how bad either one of them is, Illinois always beats
they're
Western.
A tough team.
Man, so frustrating.
I was watching this game until Western threw an interception. Like they just don't have it tonight.
Yeah.
But there was a lot of big plays in this game too. Both teams.
Yeah.
So that first half was great, back and forth.
Yep.
Then Western just couldn't get it together in the second half.
Yep.
Kind of like the Texans. But no,
not as bad.
I looked at my girlfriend and I said, "Hey, so what do you think they call this game in the middle of the week here?" She goes, "I don't know, Wednesday night football." I'm like, "No, it's called Maction." And she's like, okay. Like unimpressed and worried that I was
She's
going to
need a little more context to understand what you're talking about. It's the MAC conference.
I know. I explained it to her, but she's just like, "Good for you." And then she went back to playing on her Switch or her iPad or something. Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. Other scores. Kansas upset number 17 Iowa State 45-36.
Dang, that's 2 losses for Iowa State. Oof.
Virginia upset number 23 Pittsburgh 24-19. And South Carolina upset number 24 Vanderbilt 28-7. So there's 3 more teams in the top 25 that were upset. Louisiana over Arkansas State 55-19. Tulane over Temple 52-6. Ohio shut out Kent State 42-0. We've talked about Kent State before. They are 0-9 this year. They have been beat up by everybody. 20, 30, 40 points, losses. They are just, I feel really bad for Kent State this year. How many
games this year have they just been like scoreless?
I don't know if they've been scoreless, but they have lost many games by, like I said, 20, 30 points. They just really are not very good this year.
Because, I mean, I just feel so bad for Kent State.
I know
a few weeks ago you wanted to talk about them, and let me pull up their scores. Let's see. So,
I know they've had probably 4 where they've really been decimated.
Yeah, okay, so let's see. They lost 55-24 in their first game. 23-17 their second game against St. Francis.
A nice close game.
Then they lost 71-0 against Tennessee. 56-0 against Penn State. 52-33 against Eastern Michigan. 37-35 against Ball State. So they finally had a close game. They just couldn't get that one done. They lost 27-6 against Bowling Green a couple weeks ago. They lost to Western Michigan 52-21, and now 41-0 against Ohio. Their next game is against Miami of Ohio. Then they have Akron, and then they play Buffalo. So
it's not looking good for Kent State this year.
Check into the action because they got a game Wednesday night, and then it's a couple Tuesday night games. So
yeah, I think Western has a midweek game again this week. I'm
sure.
not sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's see. Jacksonville State over Louisiana Tech, 44-37 in overtime, and finally UTEP over Kennesaw State, 43-35 in double overtime. Taking a look at the military academies, number 18 Army improved to 9-0 over North Texas with a win over North Texas, 14-3. It was Navy over South Florida, 28-7, and it was Air Force over Fresno State, 36-28. This is the first time since 2010 that all 3 of the Service Academy teams have won on Veterans Day weekend. So I thought that was pretty cool. So right now we have 4 undefeated teams in the FBS. You've got number 1 Oregon at 10-0, number 8 Indiana at 10-0, number 9 BYU at 9-0, and number 18 Army at 9-0. Those are your 4 undefeated teams in FBS. Very sad story. Kirk Herbstreit's dog Ben passed away at the age of 10. I couldn't watch all those tributes to the dog. I mean, you see the dog sitting next to him when they're doing the pregame show, and I thought it was kind of nice. But he put out a tribute, and man, it was hard to watch.
Yeah,
just so emotional.
It was very emotional. I guess I never heard that he had this dog. I mean, I don't really watch College Game Day a whole lot, so I had no idea. But I mean, I like Kirk Herbstreit.
Yep.
And what a story! When that kind of came out, I was like, oh, that's a bummer. And then you find out that this is the dog that travels with him, and he takes everywhere, and everybody knows this dog.
Yep.
And it stinks. I mean, most people have been pet owners. And when you're connected to a pet like that, it's just gut-wrenching when something happens.
Yeah, we've had many dogs and cats in our family ever since. Your mom had 2 dogs and 2 cats when I married her, and it hasn't slowed down since. We've got 3 dogs and 2 cats now.
So it sucks. The tributes were awesome, and the outreach from people was pretty sweet to see.
And the fans, would make signs about him, and he'd always get a press pass to wear around his neck at whatever games he was at. He shows him like rolling around in the grass on the field, just being a dog, and awful, just something awful.
Yeah.
We don't like talking about the sad stuff, but I wanted to mention this just because. We're both dog lovers, and it's really hard when you lose it.
Yeah, we both got dogs, so yeah, it's a tough one.
Yep. In another story, the Mountain West Conference is considering adding FCS North Dakota State as a football-only member. North Dakota State has won 9 FCS national championships in the last 11 seasons between 2011 and 2021. The Bison are currently ranked number 1 at the FCS level. They've been just a powerhouse for many years. And, there have been several teams that have come up from the FCS level in the last year or so, and they've been doing really well. So this kind of makes a lot of sense.
Right? They opened up the season against Colorado.
Did they?
Yeah, don't you remember that game?
Oh, yes, I do. I do remember that now.
And they made it a game for a little bit.
Yeah.
But, I mean, so I have no problem if they jumped up like that. But, again, it's a story where it's, well, we might do this.
Well, I think by throwing that out there, they're going to get, the public's reaction, whether they think it's a good move or bad, and, then they'll go from there. They do that a lot of times on a lot of things. Politicians do it. Well, we're thinking of passing this bill and see what the fallout is. If nobody has a big yank about it, then they're going to pass it. So, whatever. All right, last thing in the FBS level. Effective immediately, the NCAA has done away with the number of official visits that FBS schools can host during each cycle. They were permitted to host an unlimited number of unofficial visits, but they were capped at 70 official visits in each cycle. Now they're just doing away with that, so I don't even know why they need a cycle anymore.
Yeah.
You can have unlimited amount of official and unofficial visits to the school, when you're trying to bring in players. So the times they are a-changing in college football.
Yeah, they're not done changing.
Yeah, it's all got something to do with that big lawsuit that they're supposed to be, paying or receiving billions of dollars for something that went on. I don't remember all the details. All right, let's go to the FCS scores. Mercyhurst shut out Lincoln of California 66-0. Southern University over Bethune-Cookman 25-23 in 5 overtimes. And in the Ivy League, it was Yale over Brown 56-34. In Division II, it was Emory and Henry over University of Virginia Wise 62-14. Winston-Salem over Fayetteville State 37-31 in double overtime. And Southern Arkansas shut out Northwestern Oklahoma 78-0. Wow. Division III, Alma College over Kalamazoo College 51-13. North Central of Illinois over Elmhurst 70-7. And Wisconsin Lutheran over Rockford 48-49 in overtime. Moving to the NAIA level, it was St. Francis of Indiana over St. Xavier of Illinois 27-14. St. Francis from Fort Wayne now clinches a berth in the NAIA playoffs. They won a couple of NAIA titles a few years ago, so maybe they'll make it back to a title game again this year. It was Taylor of Indiana over Madonna of Michigan by the score of, get this, 91-28. Woo.
Jeez.
And Bethel of Tennessee over Lindsey Wilson of Kentucky 33-31 in 4 overtimes. Finally, in the National Junior College Athletic Association, it was our beloved Snow College over Monroe University, 57-7. Hudson Valley Community College over Hocking, 44-26. And Cisco over Blinn, 19-11. I don't know how you can have Monroe University at a community college level. I thought to be a university, you had to be a 4-year school. So I don't know, but that's what they had. All right. And now it's time for us to check in with our man in Japan.
And now we're off across the Pacific, where our man in Japan, Greg St. James, has all the news from the land of the rising sun.
From the Gridiron Japan newsroom here in southwestern Japan, this is Greg St. James with your Week 6 X-League report, specifically the X-League Super, the top division in X-League play. And this is, like I said, the 6th week and also the final week of regular season. So this week we had Seksui Challengers were 22-0 over Fujifilm Minerva. The defending champion Fujitsu Frontiers 63-14 over IBM Big Blue. The Obik Seagulls 37-7 winners over the Elecom Fineys. The Oriental Bio Silver Star were 19-7 winners over the All Mitsubishi Lions. The Panasonic Impulse were 38-6 winners over the Nojima Rise. And then finally, the Tokyo Gas Creators won 37-17 over the Fukuoka Suns. So we head into the playoffs here in a couple weeks with the Super X League. And right now we've got 2 teams that are undefeated for the regular season. And that is the Panasonic Impulse and the Fujitsu Frontiers, who have basically been battling for the championship for the X League title for, I believe, the last 4 years. It has been the last 4 years. We've seen both of these teams battle for the top spot, with the Fujitsu Frontiers winning every time. So, and our bet here at Gridiron Japan is we're going to see the same rematch yet again for the Rice Bowl come January 3rd, which to us is very disappointing because unfortunately the X League does not have the parity that you would hope it would have. There's a lot of reasons for that. Specifically, these are club teams. Your 2 top teams, Fujitsu and Panasonic, are corporately sponsored, whereas the other teams, while they are sponsored by corporations, the corporations that sponsor the other teams, aside from Fujitsu and Panasonic, don't provide as much as Fujitsu and Panasonic. So The Fujitsu and Panasonic teams are loaded money-wise, and that allows them to attract the top talent and keep the top talent and basically stay on top. So for us, it is a bit of a challenge and when we report on the league, because we know that the Fujitsu Frontiers and the Panasonic Impulse are likely going to be battling for the top spot pretty much every year. And actually, since we started this podcast, it has been Panasonic and Fujitsu playing for the championship every year. All right, hey guys, with all that said, I will be reporting more on the playoffs as we draw near. We've still got X1 area play coming next week, and that'll wrap up the entire regular season for the two top divisions in the X League. So with all that said, without further ado, back to you, Randy and Adam, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.
All right, thanks again, Greg. We appreciate you calling in every week and giving us the report from Japan. It's a lot of fun to listen to. Keeps us from having to look up all those scores because you're right there. You probably got them on your morning newspaper that shows up at your door.
Newspaper?
I don't know. Let's see. Moving on. Here we're back in the States now, and today's birthdays and anniversaries for November 12th. Quarterback Steve Bartkowski, a.k.a. Peachtree Bart. I remember Steve Bartkowski. I'd never heard that nickname for him before.
I remember him, too. He was great in the Monsters Incorporated movie.
No. You must be thinking of somebody else.
Oh, I'm thinking of Mike Wazowski. Sorry.
Steve Bartkowski. He turned 72 today. Played his college football at the University of California. First overall pick in the 1975 NFL draft by the Atlanta Falcons. He played 12 NFL seasons. He was with the Falcons from 1975 to 1985, and he was with the LA Rams in 1986. Also with a birthday today, safety Ken Houston turns 80 years old today. Played his college football at Prairie View A&M. Selected in the 9th round of the 1967 NFL draft by the Houston Oilers. Played 14 NFL seasons. He was with the Oilers from 86 to 72 and was with the Washington Redskins from 73 to 1980. He was inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 1986. And then on this date in 1892, guard Pudge Heffelfinger was paid $500 to play in a game for the Allegheny Athletic Association against their hated rivals, the Pittsburgh Athletic Club, thus making Heffelfinger the first documented pro football player as recognized by the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yeah, a lot of debate on who the first was, but
yep, there was a John Brawlier before that, who was from that little town that we went to outside of Pittsburgh when we were there last year. But anyway, yeah, and there's a nice historical marker to the Pudge Heffelfinger game right across the street from the Steelers Stadium right now, and I wanted to get a picture of it, and we were parked on the other side, and when we were leaving that stadium that day, we had to drive back to Michigan, and so I didn't think to go back to the other side. Streets were getting filled up because there was a baseball game that was going to be coming in, and all the cars were everywhere. So we were lucky to get on the highway and get the heck out of Dodge there.
Yeah.
But Pudge Heffelfinger on this date paid $500 back in 1892. I wonder what that equates to in today's money. 1892.
I don't think we want to think about that.
$500 back then, that was a lot of money.
Yeah.
Jeez. Some people probably didn't even make that in a year. Okay, we're going to move on to a couple of obituaries today. This is where we take a moment and honor those who've made the world of football a better place. The first one is John Robinson, a head coach in college and in the NFL, has passed away at the age of 89. Robinson started out as an assistant coach in college at Oregon from 1960 to 1971. He then became the head coach at USC from 1976 to 1982 before moving on to the NFL, where he was the head coach of the Los Angeles Rams from 1983 to 1991. He was the NFL Coach of the Year in 1983. Robinson returned to USC as the head coach from 1993 to 1997, and he was also the head coach of UNLV from 1999 to 2004, and he is also a member of the College Football Hall of Fame.
All right, our next obituary is that of Don Bull Bossler, fullback in the NFL for 8 seasons, has passed away at the age of 88. Bossler played college football at Miami and was the 9th overall pick in the 1957 NFL Draft by the Washington Redskins. He played in Washington from 1957 to 1964. Bossler was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame in 1990.
And finally, Charlie Turner, an offensive lineman in the Canadian Football League for 12 seasons, has passed away at the age of 79. Turner played college football at Ohio. He signed with the Hamilton Tiger Cats and played for the team in 1967, 1968, and 1970. He went on to play for the Edmonton Eskimos from 1971 to 1978, and he finished his CFL playing career in 1979 with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. He won 3 Grey Cup titles up in Canada, 1 with Hamilton in 1967 and 2 with Edmonton in 1975 and 1978. In 1975, Turner was named the CFL's most outstanding lineman. All right, so finally today, it's our upcoming events calendar. This Sunday, November 17th, the 111th CFL Grey Cup game in Vancouver. We're going to be there starting tomorrow. And Saturday, November 23rd, the 140th Harvard-Yale game will be played at Harvard this year. Tuesday, December 3rd, Hard Knocks in season with the AFC North on HBO and Max. You're probably going to watch more of that than I will. You seem fascinated by that this year.
I'm curious to check it out. We'll see.
Yep. Monday, December 9th, during Monday Night Football, the Simpsons Football Fun Day game, Bengals versus Cowboys. Yeah, you're going to hear a lot of "do" whenever the Cowboys are on the field.
Right.
That's going to be on Disney Plus, ESPN Plus, or NFL Plus. So if you don't have a Plus system, you're not going to watch this version of the game on Monday Night Football. Saturday, December 14th, the 125th Army-Navy game at Northwest Stadium, home of the NFL's Washington Commanders. It's usually in Philadelphia, but they are rotating it around to a couple of different cities now. So it's going to be in Washington, D.C. this time. And then Friday and Saturday, December 20th and 21st, that's when the 12-team college football playoffs begin.
Oh,
all right.
So much football,
Yeah.
so little time.
Yeah. Anything else come over your phone before we?
Nah, not really. I mean, I gotta go home and pack. You know, I gotta do that app thing with my passport.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
we got a lot of stuff still to do, and then we'll be on a plane tomorrow, and then be on the lookout for other videos tonight. I gotta do a couple things, but
Yeah.
very, very exciting. Like I said, I'm nervous about just the traveling in general. So.
Yeah, once we get there, we're going to have a lot of fun. But the whole thing of it, like I said, I haven't flown internationally with a passport since the 80s. And many other trips I went on overseas was on a military plane or a military chartered plane. So a lot different. All right, that's all the time we've got for this week. If you learned something during our podcast about the incredible amount of diversity that exists in the world of football, then we have done our job. Visit our website at theworldoffootball.com for news, links, upcoming events, original articles, videos, and more. Our email address is info@theworldoffootball.com.
You can also follow The World of Football on Facebook, X, and Instagram, where the address for all three of those is TWOF Kalamazoo. I've been trying to do something different with the Instagram page. I know we usually post the thumbnails for a lot of the videos we do. I've been really bad at that, so I want to turn that into more like different stuff. Like I've been putting up like new merch we've been doing, and we'll see if we'll post pictures from our trip as we go along.
Sure.
Just to do something different. I think the Instagram page, I don't know, we'll just do something different with it.
Yeah, we just started that, 6 months ago?
I don't
or
remember.
Within the last year?
I don't remember. I don't keep track of that. I mean, I barely even run it, obviously. So, New episodes of this podcast are posted on Tuesdays and are available on SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and Amazon Music. So you can simply ask your Alexa device to play the World of Football podcast to hear us on whatever Alexa devices you may have. You can also find the full audio version of this show on our YouTube page. Just enter the World of Football Kalamazoo or use the handle at the World of Football in the YouTube search bar. So please spread the word, subscribe, rate, review, give us a like, leave us a comment, let us know what you think, and please come be a part of the football conversation. And remember, next Wednesday will be the next show. We're going to take Tuesday off. I think we just kind of plan on the fly.
We're going to need a day to recover.
So we determined this while we recorded. So yes, next Wednesday will be our next show.
Yep. So a lot of our videos that come out on certain days may be a day late next week.
Maybe, or that Tuesday will just give me time to just chill at the computer, knock out the travel log stuff or whatever, and finalize some stuff, and then
we'll play it by ear, but definitely
we'll aim for Wednesday then.
Yep, aim for Wednesday. All right, and remember, folks, some people may love football more than we do, but nobody, and I mean nobody, loves more football than the two of us sitting here in Kalamazoo talking about football. Until next time, when we'll try and do a better job. Yeah, right. I'm Randy Snow.
And I'm Adam Snow.
And we'll see you all next week.